Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Alright, so I'm gonna do this kind of like pre-analysis video for like the next 2 days until we get actual hard data. However, I just want to highlight probably the attack that will be affected, that will affect the meta the most, even if it's tweaked just a little bit, which is probably going to be Rock Slide. As you know, Rock Slide is probably an attack that either you've used at one point or has been used against you multiple times because of Galarian Stunfisk, Machamp, Tangrowth, and various other things. And now, the thing about this is that I'm not going to speculate on what damage it will be, because there's just too many things, too many factors. It's a lot of math, okay? So I don't like making things complicated, just to simplify things. The purpose of these videos are to actually give you an idea of like which Pokemon will be effective and just how much this actually will scale across the meta. Now the thing about Rock Slide is that attack is in a lot of it's very popular in a lot of not just Great League but Ultra League and Master League as well. And you know what, the one Pokemon that has it? It's Melmetal. Alright, so without further ado, as you see here, the following attacks will be updated at the start of the 11th, and one of them will be Rock Slide, and let's get started. Alright, so here is Rock Slide. So the thing about Rock Slide is that it's very interesting for various reasons. There's a reason why it's been so overly dominant for so long. Not only has it been the coverage move of a lot of Pokemon, it's actually pretty dang strong. As you see here, here's the stats from GoHub. It's 50 energy for 80 power. 80 power is that's a pretty decent amount of damage for 50 energy. And there's a lot of moves, there's a lot of fast moves like Mudshot and other things that will allow you to get there pretty dang quickly. So, well, not 50 energy, it's actually 45 energy, I lied. So there's 45 energy for 80 power. That's actually pretty low, and that's, like I said, it's still a decent amount of damage. So, pretty dang good. Now, here's the thing about Rock Slide, is that Rock Slide's super effective damage, Bug, Flying, Fire, and Ice. So it does a lot of good damage against Bug types like Ovantula. Flying types are pretty dime a dozen, things like Togekiss, etc. Togekiss, let's see, what else has a flying typing? Togekiss, I would say Mandibuzz, Skarmory is another one to put. However, because Skarmory is also a Steel type, as you see, not very effective, it does neutral damage. However, neutral is better than being resisted. So as you see here, it has a lot of relevant coverage. Fire and Charizard, Fire and things like Litleo. Let's see, other fire typings, I'm trying to figure it out. Let's see. Charizard, I think I already said Charizard. Charizard, Litleo. Oh yeah, Chandelure is another one to come to mind. And Ice types. So there's plenty of Ice meta out there, such as Mamoswine. You have Mamoswine, you have Abomasnow, and then for Great League you have things like A9, you have A9, you have Weavile, a lot of other things that are ice related that can actually Rock Slide does a lot against a lot of meta things, okay? However, it's also resisted by Fighting, Ground, and Steel, which are very prevalent typings as well in a lot of Go Valley meta. So it beats a lot of the meta, and it's resisted against some archetypes in the meta. Generally, though, Rock Slide is a really dang good move, and it's used very, very often. So the thing about Rock Slide being affected, like I said, I'm not going to speculate it, but unless it's dropped by like a considerable amount, I would say like 20 damage, it's probably not going to be too affected. But, like I said, we're just going to have to see exactly what it's going to look like. Alright, so here's the list of Pokemon that actually have Rock Slide in Pokemon Go. Many of them you already know right off the bat you are very familiar with. Well, pretty much. For a good example is probably Shadow Machamp and Machamp. This has been a staple. Machamp and Shadow Champ in all leagues has been an absolute beast. And Rock Slide is why it's so dang good, because it gives it coverage against flying types And Rock Slide gives it the ability to actually beat Azu in the 2-shield in Great League if you can land a Rock Slide. So that's why Shadow Champ is just a monster, because of Rock Slide. This is where Rock Slide will actually matter a lot, because it really does... A good example would be Giratina and Ancient Power. When Ancient Power was debuffed because of its damage, it actually cannot take out Togekiss anymore with the amount of damage it has. Togekiss will actually live with a substantial amount of HP, and it can't cover things like Lapras anymore. That's why Ancient Power really took away Gira's ability to cover, but because Gira is such a beast, it's still very viable for the meta today, even with things just like Shadow Sneak. So, as you see here, we have things like Geodude, Alolan Geodude, things you don't really use much. Amistar is probably an interesting one. Amistar does have Mudshot, and it is kind of... It's a very interesting mon. Not really the first thing you would think about, but it's actually not that bad. Aerodactyl is probably one that you already know too much about. Aerodactyl has been basically was the king of the Flying Cup. And it's... Other than dropping, it literally just drops rocks at you. It's also very spam. It also spams Rock Slide. Well, not spams, because Rock Throw actually generates very small amounts of energy, but Rock Slide still does a decent chunk of damage. And for Ultra League, it'd be Armored Mewtwo. Armored Mewtwo is, I wouldn't say it's as dominant as it was before. However, it can still make an impact. With Cresselia's dominance in the meta, Armored Mewtwo, you don't see it too much. You'll still use it, but not too much. You'll probably see it even less because Rock Slide's going to get debuffed. Rock Slide is actually one of Armored Mewtwo's coverages moves, as it's able to cover Togekiss and Lapras. And Obama's. So, well, you have Dynamic Punch for that, but Armored Mewtwo's versatility really lies in its versatile moveset. You have other things other than Rock Slide, but Rock Slide does cover some key things. Mew is also able to use Rock Slide. Probably seen less, but it's still an option. Other Great League mons that are used in other formats, such as Sudowoodo. Sudowoodo also have them as well. Now, there's probably, let's see, as we go down, you'll probably see the more notable ones. Deoxys Defense. So, Deoxys Defense is one of the big ones that are going to get hit by this. Deoxys Defense isn't going to lose a lot of viability by losing Rock Slide. However, Rock Slide does give it coverage against a lot of things. It's also, other than Psycho Boost, its cheapest bait move, where it actually doesn't debuff you. So, not having Rock Slide kind of sucks, or Rock Slide being debuffed. That doesn't mean that Deoxys Defense loses usefulness at all. It can do without Rock Slide. Rock Slide, however, gives it that really great shot because of its ability to get energy quickly with counter. So Deoxys Defense, it's still gonna pick a sizable hit, because Rock Slide is definitely a very energy efficient and a very, very good utility move. Tangrowth is another one, I would say. Tangrowth is a very popular mon as far as Ultra Premier goes, and with Rock Slide coverage, it might not do enough damage with Rock Slide now, depending on how Rock Slide is debuffed, to actually do enough damage, even though it still like generates energy quickly with Vine Whip. Rock Slide is generally used to cover things like Charizard and Lapras. So until I get the hard data, we'll take a look exactly, like Tangrowth is still on the chopping block for one of the big ones for Rock Slide, as far as like what's going to be effective. We go down even more. Crustle with Rock Slide, not so much with Crustle. Crustle, you're mostly using Crustle for its Smackdown move rather than Rock Slide. Rock Slide, yes, it does damage, but bulk of the damage you'll be doing is mostly due to Smackdown. So I don't think it will affect Crustle way too much. Landorus is another one. I don't see too many people using Landorus. It's a very powerful closer in Master League, in Masters Classic, and it generates its energy quickly with Mudshot. It's able to cover things like Togekiss because of Rock Slide. So it will be affected. I'm not sure by how much amount, like I said, until we see it. Now, the biggest mon that will take a giant hit from this, depending on how it's like modified, or even if you tweak it a little bit, it's probably going to be Melmetal. Rock Slide is one of Melmetal's many moves. However, it's definitely been the one that it's been paired with Superpower as its most viable bait move, and as the move that pretty much just smacks its way to oblivion, just because Melmetal is so oppressive. With Thundershock, Superpower, Rock Slide, it has deemed as one of the most powerful Metamons in all three leagues, and has been a huge problem. In Great League, it's seen less use, however, in Ultra and Master League, it is still a monster, and you still see it occasionally in Great League. Maybe not so much with the Rock Slide debuff, but Melmetal is definitely one of the available mons, because there's a lot of ways to get one. Pokemon Home or some other Pokemon Home, Let's Go Pikachu, and it's been out for a while, so Melmetal is definitely a force to be reckoned with, especially if you have rocks, especially now, but now that Rock Slide is being debuffed, like I said, depending on how it is debuffed, we don't know if Melmetal is able to cover the mons that it covers with Rock Slide, now that Rock Slide does less damage. As you see, I put a little summary of like which mons are going to probably be affected most by this. It's probably going to affect the rock genre more than people think it will. When Ancient Power was nerfed, it affected a lot of viable meta Pokemon. A good example is this. For those of you that don't know, a long time ago, Relicanth was actually a pretty good PvP Pokemon. It's actually really good in Sylph as well. However, because Ancient Power got nerfed, it took a huge hit. Because it doesn't have that Ancient Power coverage, Ancient Power just didn't do enough damage. Even though Relicanth is a rock Pokemon and doesn't get stabbed, it effectively fell off as one of the PvP regionals, or the most effective PvP regionals. Since then, Tropius has still is one of the most powerful regionals of all time. As you see here, all the other attacks you see, Power Gym, which pretty much sees the most usage by Sableye, Rock Blast, Rock Tomb, Rock Wrecker, which is Rhyperior's exclusive move, and Stone Edge, which is available to several other Pokemon, such as like Cradily, Blaziken as a legacy move, etc. Rock Slide is probably the one you see the most. If its damage is probably reduced... so Ancient Powers was 70. So if it reduces to where 35 or like even 20 damage to like 60, that would be pretty huge. Yeah, that'd be pretty huge. So Rock Slide if you tweak it even by like 10, that affects a lot of matchups. So this is definitely going to take a huge hit and really imply and shift the meta a bit. As you see, I already mentioned each individual mons that would take it. However, so many Pokemon rely on Rock Slide that depending on how they tweak it, even if it's just minor, it can have major implications for whatever meta that uses those Pokemon. As you see, and like I mentioned, the reason why I brought this list up is you really don't see a lot of the other moves being used with the exception of Stone Edge. And that's it, you guys. I'm going to be doing more. I'm going to be doing more of these, so you could do. And once the new update does come out, then I'll go in depth onto each individual Pokemon. There's gonna be a lot of content out for this because not a lot of people are really interested in this stuff. But if you are interested, it can give you a good idea and just like a leg up on other people that really, because there's like knowledge, there's energy knowledge, and then there's like damage knowledge. Like these are what top players research top players research and top players like really like look into as far as like damage goes. This is how you know your Pokemon will lift stuff, and this is how you know stuff will kill things, is based on the damage that things do. That's how I beat my way to rank 10 in Season 1, is because I knew damage output, etc. So damage is very important. Like I said, it's a very advanced mechanic as far as knowledge goes. If you're interested, that's good, and this is the right place to be. If you aren't interested in it, I'm hoping I'm getting you interested, because like I said, damage really does matter, and depending on how a move is modified, its damage matters arguably more than its energy, unless its energy is modified by like a lot of amount. For example, Solar Beam goes from 80 energy to like 100 energy, then you'll never get a beam off. just saying. Anyways, if you guys like this video, please like and subscribe, and like I said, I'll be making more videos on these. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you on the next video.